Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video by yours truly. I'm here to talk to you guys about Fugue and my entire assessment of this character. I'm here to make sure this conversation is as multifaceted as this character's kit is, because it is quite multifaceted. As I've also seen like some mixed feelings about the character online. Now, the guide makers have been saying she's great, but some of the loud, maybe copers or just people who are delusional, have been saying that she's mid and that she's an easy skip. I want to make sure you understand if she's a skip for you or not. Let's get the two obvious reasons out. You can't afford to pick up her and Aglia, and you like Aglia as a kit design, a character design, so yada, yada, yada. So you're picking up Aglia simply because that's going to bring you more enjoyment. I can't argue with that. That makes perfect sense. Carry on. Or you're somebody who just doesn't like Super Break. You're over Super Break. You don't want to play Super Break anymore. I can't argue with that either. I get it. Carry on. But if you ain't none of them two options, then you might want to stick around and listen to what I have to say. First, let's start off with option number one. Objectively, you cannot play with Remembrance MC and Harmony MC simultaneously. In Hoyo versus Gacha game? Oh, no, a free character twice? Oh no, we're not even monetizing that, bucko. You can't play with both of them at the same time. You gotta choose one. You can't use them both in the MOC, okay? You just can't. Or in Pure Fiction. So you have to replace the HMC and you have to find a new Super Break enabler. Ding, ding, ding. That is Fugue. Fugue is the new Super Break enabler, and she's even better at enabling it than the HMC is. You know why? You don't gotta pop ult. It's there. As soon as you go into battle, talent passive, just Super Break free 99 on top of EXO Toughness. So this character's incentivization to be pulled upon, just for that fact alone, is actually pretty damn high. Now, moving on to the next one. The hyper buff trope is legitimate now. Now, it's always been legitimate with the sweaty players, but I mean, it's legitimate and accessible to people who aren't even sweaty. Here's the problem with the hyper buff trope before Fugue. Well, you just can't hyper buff without dying, right? You die. They do too much damage and you don't have the means to survive, to sustain the fight. Well, with Fugue coming out with her action value delay on top of action value delay from HMC on top of action value delay from Ron May, now you can legitimately run a hyper buff Super Break composition and prevent the enemy from going by running somebody like Firefly, Boot Hill, Rappa, hell, even Himiko, I don't know, you name it. It's now more than ever been a thing to where you don't need a healer because the three supports on your team just keep delaying the living shit out of the enemy. If you don't know this, Fugue's kit says when you break a shield, delay their action by 15%. Period. What that means is you're going to delay their action by 15% when you break their shield, and then you're going to delay it again when you break their EXO Toughness shield. So that's a 30% action value delay. This is not including Ron May's ridiculously high action value delay or the HMC's action value delay on top of that. See, it compounds. People look at kit one and they go, it doesn't seem that crazy. Well, that's because you're not looking at the whole picture. When you consider that all three of them are doing this shit, now it's insane. So that's what makes Fugue another incentive to pick her up is going to be that hyper buff Super Break trope where you're able to run sustainless compositions and really pop off the Super Break characters. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be accessible to everyone because not everyone fits the Super Break playstyle, but you kind of get where I'm going with that. Another thing on top of that, by the way, is that Ron May herself, and I think a lot of people have glossed over this, her ice break does a lot of damage. The initial break when you break their shields. Well, guess what? That re-triggers multiple times when you break EXO Toughness and the initial break as well. So Ron May is doing double damage. The thing about Fugue that is actually kind of insane, kind of broken, she's not just dealing damage herself, although she can with her ult and her auto. She's going to be doing triggering, Super Break 2 times with her and HMC if you use them on the same team. And if you're putting him on the MC Remembrance path, then you're going to be triggering it one time with her, but with Ron May's broken buffs. That's not the only thing that's doing damage from her. Everyone is doing Super Break that's coming from her. And then the EXO Toughness initial, additional break damage on top of that. So you got break damage, Super Break damage, and then you got her herself doing damage. She's one of those kits that's hard to quantify on paper, just like Ron May. She does things inside of her kit intrinsically that you can't really math out, but they're fucking broken. And so again, I go back to that hyper buff trope comp. That's going to be a thing if you pick her up, and it's going to be very fun, especially with characters like Boot Hill and Rappa and Firefly, I guess, Fire Fraud. I'm always going to piss them off. Moving on, Exo Toughness exclusivity. Okay. Who benefits from Exo Toughness right now? Rappa, Boot Hill, Himiko, Shuyi, Ranmei, HMC. Yes, HMC benefits because every time you break a shield, motherfucker gets energy. Fugue is like a battery galore for the HMC because of the amount of shield breaks occurring. But it doesn't stop there. Who's to say that Remembrance isn't going to drop some super break DPS summoner? You don't think that's going to happen? Oh, well, I don't know if you've recognized this yet, but all Remembrance is a summoning path that still utilizes the same pre-existing concepts that are in the game, okay? Summoning crit damage character, summoning super break character, summoning dot character. It's the same shit. It's just with summons, guys, all right? They're definitely going to drop a super break character down the line. I assure you that, especially when you consider that Rappa just came out. That's a super break character. She just came out. They're still adding to the super break trope. I think people have PTSD. Rightfully so, by the way, because HSR is the land of the power creep. You have PTSD, everything gets power creeped, and so you're like, super break's gonna get power creeped. Okay, now that's just PTSD at this point. You think the whole super break path is going to get power creeped? Absolutely. It is the only path in this game that has insane amounts of plot armor. Not happening. Anyways, continuing on, the next two things that are undervalued, I feel, or just like people aren't paying attention to, is the toughness reduction ignore. It's 50%, but it's still insane because she can just put that on anyone that she designates as her buff target, which Acheron comes to mind. The other thing too is the technique opener. People always sleep on technique openers. It's the reason why Pella was so valuable for such a very long time. Her technique opener is just broken. Defensive shred, defensive shred, defensive shred, right? So let's start off with the ignore weakness. You put it on Acheron, and now Acheron's skill can all of a sudden start breaking shields down, even if they're not weak to lightning. This is something that becomes accessible to Acheron once she hits E6, I believe, by the way. Yeah, that's very valuable, man. Shu Yi's another character that can take advantage of that. Anybody can take advantage of this. There's another cook to it too. You can also say, oh, my driver, they're already weak to my driver's weakness, but this character, they're not weak to their weakness. So let me go ahead and designate it on them so that they can contribute to the break. Comfortability like that, that's for casuals. Casuals eat that type of stuff up, and it makes the game and the content, well, easier to clear. So that's huge. But the technique opener is literally like Pella's. You open up in battle with defensive shred on the enemy's head for 2 turns, just like Pella's, except she doesn't attack. Well, you don't have to, at least. You can pop her technique and then open up with your person of choice, which is probably going to be somebody like Rappa or Firefly. That is massive, because if it's a Pella on that team, you have to open up with Pella because that's the only way to activate her technique. But with oh girl, I always tell you, I love techniques where you're not forced to open up battle with the attack. Because you can pop hers, it's going to daze all the enemies around. You're going to open up with the Firefly or the Rappa or whoever the driver is. And then you're going to go into battle, put 18% defensive shred on their heads for 2 turns, and advance Fugue forward by 40%. This enables her to go once immediately. Now, this next one, I think I'm going to make this a separate video because we got to talk about her signature light cone. I think a lot of people have been overlooking the signature light cone versus resolution shines as a pearl. We'll talk about that in another video. But that is another powerful thing, being able to go into battle and have a strong start. In fact, often at times for the sweaty audience, that's why the 0 cycles are accessible and achievable. It's because we have a strong opener to set us up going into that second cycle in the second phase. The final thing I want to talk to you guys about, and this is not really a selling point, it's just more so an objective fact. Her E1, it increases weakness break efficiency by 50%. Weakness break efficiency is literally in the formula for dealing more damage with your super break. And it's in the formula for dealing more damage with your boot heal. All right, so it increases super break damage and it increases boot heal's literal damage with his enhanced shot. Her E1 is fucking insane. It's disgusting though. Now this is my personal opinion part. It's disgusting because it's obviously pay gated behind her E1. In boot hill mains, people who have boot hill and own boot hill and want to like experience the power of boot hill, they're gonna feel pressured to pick up that E1. Now you can vertically progress. What I recommend you guys is you just pick up 1 copy of her. Do not give this company money for these garbage ass eidolons. pick up one copy of her, wait on the rerun, and then vertically progress, and then pick up the copy of her. Instead of spending money, you don't need to spend because you don't really need it to experience the power of boot hill. Now you do what you want to do. That's just my recommendation. But her E1 is absolutely disgusting. Not only is it increasing super break damage, increasing boot hill damage, and future characters down the line that are going to scale off a weakness break efficiency or toughness reduction, it's also going to make you just break shields like instantly. 50% with Ron May's 50% is now 100% increase in weakness break efficiency. Bro, what are we? Are we in Divergent Universe at this point? So you pick that up. I'm not gonna lie to you. That is a realm of power that I'll wait for because I ain't giving them no goddamn money. That's gonna wrap up this video for Fugue, man. I'm picking her up 100%. I'm gonna make a video talking about her signature light cone next. We're still in the honeymoon phase for Zenless Zone Zero. I gotta make some content on that game. I'm gonna do a review on it because 1.4 has been popping off. But let me know your thoughts. Comment down below. Thanks for watching. I'll do the signature light cone shit, whenever I get around to it. Peace.